Welcome everyone to Crypto News Global. It's January 1st, 2025, and Happy New Year to all my viewers and the whole world out there. Let's get things started. Nice to see everybody out there. Thanks for joining the stream. We are going to go through today's market watch, everything you need to know about Bitcoin, and we're going to go through technical analysis, and let's get things started. We're also going to go through some headlines. We've got today, experts unpack the future of Bitcoin and its misconceptions in Prague. We've got not unreasonable to see Bitcoin hit 250,000, says CoinShares head of research. New proposal to mandate Swiss National Bank to hold Bitcoin on balance sheet is already set in motion. And our headline for story of the day is crypto analyst Miles Ducher's top 10 crypto predictions for 2025, seeing that this is January 1st. So let's get things started first and get right into our technical analysis. Let's get into Coin 360. Share my screen here. Get rid of the fluff. Here we go. So we see that Bitcoin is pumping. The whole market's up a little bit today. Bitcoin's up 1.5%, 95,000 US, and its market dominance right now is very close to 55%. We've got XRP way up today, doing great, and we've got Ethereum over there at 33.90. A couple of the alts booming. Let's flip right into crypto bubbles and see what today has brought. So we've got XLM, which is a fork of XRP, is pumping way up 30%. This is interesting here. AI16Z. I received a text the other day from a friend of mine saying his son got in early on this, and he already cashed out. $10 million is in the bank, and he's got another a lot sitting there. Wish I knew about it a little earlier myself, but he's fairly young. He just had a kid, and it looks like he's looking for retirement, so he's up $20 million bucks. So yeah, these things do happen. Let's flip out a little further to the week. And this is what I was saying. We've got this meme coin here, AI16Z, which again I didn't hear about until the other day when my friend sent me a text telling me about his kid. Jazzed me surprisingly in the negative here. Scam token from Scam Bankman-Fried there. They're way up because they're finally going to pay out all of the scam money that everybody got pushed out of. So that's the reason it's up, I'm sure. And if we flip into the month, we get a whole bunch of altcoins again. AI16Z, Virtual Coin, Hype, BGB, all way up. Let's go into the crypto fear and greed index, and today we are at a very low 49. Yesterday was also pretty low, last week was in greed and extreme greed. Last month, it's showing last month, which was, yesterday. So 83 extreme greed. Typically when you see these high numbers, you're going to expect a correction. So that's kind of what we've been seeing over the past few days. And let's go into our halving watch. As we all know, Bitcoin just halved in April of this year, April 19th, and the next halving is in 1,339 days, 4 years from now, approximately 3.5 years. Okay, so let's also now go into some technical analysis and go into some charts. So here we've got trading view, and I've got my chart already set out here. This is the view I like. I have the halving dates already calculated in with vertical lines here. So the most recent halving is here, and this gives me a nice rough idea of the outlook. Since it's cyclical, what are we really looking at? This is kind of the halving dates, and then you've got the highs, and a similar thing here, the halving date, then you've got the highs. This was the 2020 cycle, as we see down here. The double peak, we have March, April, and then October. And then we have our current halving date of last year, April 19th, 20th. The past week, let's go into actually a daily look, and the high ask for the day, or the high for the day, 95.3, the current ask 94, just under 95. If we flip to a weekly view, something similar. It's been going a little bit sideways. Monthly view, we can see our all-time high of 108 over here on the right, and it's gone as low as 91. If we go to the 1 year view, we can really get a sense of what Bitcoin's done. It's been as low as 38 and as high as 108. And then if we flip back into my all-time view here, we can see that the current Bitcoin price is 95, as high as 108. And the time of the halving, it was at 61. There was a big hype at this point. We're talking about the lows, and 16,000 in around here. The end of 2023, we started hearing about the ETFs being approved, and we saw a big jump, big run up. And then we got into over here November, the U.S. presidency, where Trump was voted in, and a big Trump pump here, because most of us already know that Trump is a big Bitcoin. He's going to take a lot of the regulation away from the SEC, he says. So a lot of the Bitcoiners really pumped it up, because we might see the light at the end of the tunnel, instead of SEC closing things off the way they've been doing for the past 4 years under the Biden admin. So what I like to do also, if you guys ever want to play around with this trading view, there's an app, trading view. There's also a website. I like the app. It's free. You just have to register. There's advanced features you can pay for. I use the free version myself. And on the left, what we have here is you can choose which models you want to use. So I use the fib retracement here, and if we zoom right back into the previous, right back to the previous halving, we can kind of get a view of what actually happened. So we've got our halving date of starting at $175, and then we flipped into the highs. That's not a good model. I'm going to actually flip into the next because it doesn't really show much there. So we go from 1743 up until the peak, which we see is always the next year in around November, December, October, November, December. And we went as high as, it looks like about 12 grand. So we can use the Fibonacci model here. Choose that icon, start from the halving date and flip into the cycle peak at the time. And then on the right side of the screen, we could see a very easy way to read it. It went from about 2700 to 1400. So, you know, if you want to do your own calculations and your own forecasts, you could take these numbers, you know, 14,793 divided by 2787. So we've got 5.3. So on the chart, to remind us, we can just add in there 5.3x. Then we can flip into the next model, which is here, and let's see what actually happened in the next halving. So again, we go to the fib, and let's go to the first peak of the double peak, and according to this, it went from 9,500 to 59,600. So again, bring out the calculator. 59,686 divided by 9,573, and we get a 6x, 6.2x. So again, to remind ourselves, we can just go 6.2x. So we're seeing here that how much it's really going up from cycle to cycle. And then if we flip into the next one and we take our price of 61.2, see, this I don't believe here because I know the cycle peak was 69,000. Why it's showing 61? I'm not sure why TradingView's got it like that. But if we take another 5.5 to 6x and we take our halving date price of 61,252, 61,252, multiply it by 5.5x, we, if all holds true, we're looking at the next peak of 336. So we can simply take it, go into whatever date, so we're going into 2025 and realistically into October, and we said 330, 336, right into about here. And if you zoom out, then we can kind of see a pretty easy way to make your own predictions. Again, I would go way back to the first cycle, and this is not financial advice at all, but I'm suggesting it's an easy way for everybody to go through and make their own estimations. And you should always have a goal. If you are into Bitcoin or any of these alts, you should say to yourself, you know, if it goes up 100%, am I going to take my money? Can I afford to take my money? Can I afford not to take my money? It's only you know, a realized gain is only when you sell it and you have the money in your pocket. Now, there's a lot of people that will just hodl through the highs and lows. Michael Saylor, for example, he doesn't care. He's just going to hodl because he feels like Bitcoin is going to go up forever. And, you know, he's a lot smarter than I am, so I would have a hard time disagreeing with him. But again, do your own research. Make your own charts. This TradingView, there's a lot of tools you can explore that will help you make these kind of guesstimates. Alrighty, let's flip into our stories of the day. So we've got experts. Always the expert. Experts. Unpack the future of Bitcoin and its misconceptions in Prague. An emergence panel hosted by M Group's Kevin McGrath earlier this month featured Stacks founder Munib Ali and Brenham Cito, initial contributor to Bitcoin scale chain here, scaling chain core. And the panel discussed the future of Bitcoin at length with a packed audience in Prague, Czechoslovakia. From misconceptions to a strategic observer in the United States, here are the biggest takeaways from their talk on the Bitcoin future. Biggest misconceptions about Bitcoin's future. The panel first point of discussion centered around the biggest misconceptions surrounding Bitcoin's future. The general consensus in the blockchain and cryptocurrency industry has been that Bitcoin is an old chain that you can't do anything with. Ali claimed, and this was reflected in the development community. Only in the past year or so has this misconception started to change as developers realize that you can, challenges aside, build on the industry's foremost blockchain. Interesting. They're saying that, yes, you can use the Bitcoin blockchain for many things. Developers are coming back to the mothership, Ali said, stating that more people are realizing that Bitcoin's Layer 2 and side chains will play a major role in Bitcoin's future. He also argued that Bitcoin needs Layer 2s more than Ethereum because Ethereum is programmable at the base layer. So, now, the people that have stated this about Bitcoin, this misconception, is it's slow. If you make a transaction in Bitcoin, it takes 10 minutes to settle. So Bitcoin is a layer 1 blockchain, which means it's at the top. Think of it as a cone. All it is a ledger, guys. Let's face it. It's just a bunch of numbers and it records everything. But think of it as a cone. So you send a transaction to this layer 1 cone. It takes 10 minutes. So, if you're at the store and you want to buy a pack of gum, who's going to wait 10 minutes for a pack of gum? Certainly not the merchant and not the consumer, and there'd be a lineup out the door, for a bunch of people waiting for their Slurpees. So there has been created a layer 2 solution. So still with the same cone, what a layer 2 is it's attached, as we'll call it, little side cones. So the little side cone is a layer 2. So the layer 2 does the heavy lifting. So you're at the store, you want to buy your gum, and you click pay. The layer 2 gets the transaction. The layer 2 can make this transaction instantaneously. You have your gum, you walk out of the store. The layer 2 then will communicate with the blockchain layer 1 main network, and in 10 minutes it'll do its settlement. But the layer 2 has already done the verification that yes, this person has enough money to buy the gum. The merchant gets paid, and as far as you're concerned, your transaction's done. And then in the background, this 10-minute slowness continues, and the transactions then transferred to the layer 1 Bitcoin blockchain. So that's what these guys are saying here. In Cito's mind, the idea that Bitcoin is merely a store of value is a misconception, claiming that there exists a lot of latent demand. He said that, in his experience, folks want to do things with their Bitcoin. They want to collateralize it, they want to borrow it, earn yield. Agreed. So I'm not going to go through and read the whole thing, but let's flip to the next point they're making. Is a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve bullish? I would say yes. The panelists unanimously agreed that establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve in the United States would be highly positive development if the government were to do it. It's definitely very bullish and a good thing, Cito said. I don't know how you can't see it as a very positive sign. Me neither. It's kind of like a game theory that Bitcoiners have been talking about for a long time, he summarizes. It's basically a dream game theory scenario. Ali, meanwhile, provided a small case scale example of how it may be bullish, citing large VC funds and endowments as examples. He argued that if a new category comes along, such as a ride sharing, and becomes big enough, at some point you're almost forced to enter. If you don't have a play in it, you're almost not doing your job. So he's, this FOMO, fear of missing out, missing the boat. I think a similar dynamic plays out at the nation-state level, country buying Bitcoin. He added, especially if the U.S., which is still a superpower, does something that puts a lot of pressure on the other countries to respond to it. They don't proffer any guesses about which nation state would go next, assuming the U.S. follows through on a strategic Bitcoin reserve. But Ali did note, with big new things, it takes longer than you think, and then it happens faster than you think. And I agree with that 100%. The internet started slow. It started in the 60s, and it was really, mid-90s that it took off. Email's been around for decades. It took a long time now the whole world uses email. So it'll be the same thing, and it'll be the same thing with AI as well. And additionally, AI's been around for a long time in the IT industry. People have just been hearing about it now with ChatGPT in the past 2 years, but it's really been around for about 15 years or so. Let's move on to our next story. Not unreasonable to see Bitcoin hit 250,000, says CoinShares head of research. Here's why. Top executive from digital asset manager CoinShares is making a big price prediction for Bitcoin. In a new CNBC interview, CoinShares head of research James Butterfield says Bitcoin may ultimately hit 250,000 and more than 166% from its current value. At $250 per coin, the flagship crypto asset's total market cap would be about 25% of gold's market share, up from the approximate current 10% of gold's market share, something Butterfield says is not unreasonable to happen. However, Butterfield still says he does not expect Bitcoin to hit 250,000 this year. Butterfield says, timing of this is very difficult, though, and I don't expect this to occur in 2025, but it will head in that direction. Instead, Butterfield is predicting a Bitcoin could correct to 80,000 in 2025 and peak at 150. I don't necessarily agree with this not expected to hit a cycle peak in 2025. Traditionally, as we went back to the map here, it's always the year after the halving where it hits its high. Here we've got July 16th halving, July of 2016, and the cycle peak December 2017, next halving May of 2020, and the cycle peak, here we are, October 21st, October 2021, and I anticipate the same kind of thing here. What I have charted is pretty bullish. He's talking about the cycle peak at 250. Not outside the realm of possibilities, and neither is the 3 and change, and neither is it. Really depends on what is Trump going to do with it is going to play a big role in the price of Bitcoin. So let's continue. Butterfield warns that Bitcoin may suffer from a steep correction if pro-crypto U.S. President-elect Donald Trump doesn't enable favorable Bitcoin practices, as many expect he will soon do after taking office later that month. I agree with that. Disappointment surrounding Trump's proposed crypto policy and doubts about their enactment could prompt a significant market correction. 100%, I can agree with that, because everybody, as per what Trump has said, he said he is going to create a stockpile, and he will never sell the U.S. government's Bitcoin. And the stockpile is going to be used. They're going to buy up Bitcoin, and it's going to be used to pay off the $36 trillion U.S. debt over. They're basically going to buy it and hold it, Bitcoin, for 20 years, and then use it to pay off the debt, is the idea. Butterfield believes that the reason Bitcoin may increase more than 60% of its current value this year, 2025, is due to a favorable U.S. regulatory environment. Yes, as we mentioned, the SEC chairman Gary Gensler is out, and new chairman of the SEC has been put in, along with crypto czars, specifically, that are going to oversee cryptocurrency, which is great to finally see something like that. Let's go into our next story. We have, this one excites me a lot. New proposal to mandate Swiss National Bank to hold Bitcoin on balance sheet set in motion. A new proposal. First, let me explain why it excites me, because Switzerland traditionally, their number one commodity is money. Swiss banks have held a lot of money. The number one thing, if you look at Switzerland's GDP, is money. So Switzerland already about maybe more than 6 months ago, announced that many of the cities are accepting Bitcoin as payment for their taxes, for citizens' taxes. So they're, ahead of the curve for sure. So let's go on here. A new proposal that would mandate the Swiss National Bank to hold Bitcoin is now gathering signatures. According to Guy Zangane, VP of Energy and Mining at stablecoin issuer giant Tether, helped create the initiative. The proposal needs 100,000 signatures from Swiss citizens to be sent to a public referendum. So if they can get 100,000 signatures from citizens, this thing is going to take effect. Zangane says, today we officially launched the popular initiative to add Bitcoin to the Swiss National Bank's balance sheet. We will need full support from our community to gather 100,000 signatures to make this a national referendum. Details will follow. The official X account for the initiative also announced that the signature collection phase has begun and that needs to break the 100,000 mark by June 30th. Oh, easy. I'm thinking they'll have 200,000 signatures probably in 2 weeks or a month. Switzerland has already pioneered Bitcoin adoption, especially in the city of Lugano, where Tether's Plan B initiative has erected a statue of BTC's anonymous creator Satoshi Nakamoto. Yeah, I remember that. Talks of a potential Bitcoin reserve in Switzerland mirror developments in the U.S., where President-elect Donald Trump has reportedly been discussing the concept with those in the industry. And Senator Cynthia Lummis has repeatedly called for a Bitcoin reserve to pay down the country's debt. Said Lummis in December, to be clear, the strategic purpose of the strategic Bitcoin reserve is to explicitly, strategically pay down a government debt hanging over the head of every American, put future Americans on a better footing, unencumbered by debt that they never supported or benefited from. The bill language is to hodl, hold on for dear life, for 20 years and establish proof of reserves. So I want to actually go to a site that I often go to, usdebtclock.org. Not ES, US. Alright, and when you go here, it could certainly be a little overwhelming for a lot of people, but if you go through these things section by section, they're really useful. And we're seeing here U.S. national debt on the top left, $36 trillion. This is exponentially going up. There was a time when it would take years for, $1 trillion. It's gone up $1 trillion, 1.3 trillion in about a month and a half, or maybe a quarter. So it's going up about $1 trillion a quarter now. This is what's interesting here, and this is what Cynthia Lummis was saying. U.S. debt per citizen, $106,000. U.S. debt per taxpayer, $323,000. So unknowingly, every taxpayer in the States, if you spread out the $36 trillion debt in the States, everybody owes $323,000. And per citizen, which, they're including the elderly, they're including children. This is including everybody, $106,000. So really, we're looking at this number per taxpayer, working adult, $323,000. It's just absurd. And everybody's walking around, they have no idea that they owe $323,000 because of government misspending. I encourage everybody to go to this usdebtclock.org. There's a lot of information over here. If you're into the precious metals, I like to use this over here a lot too. On the kind of bottom right, they're predicting futures of, dollar to silver ratio, 5 years, $1,500. Dollar to silver in 10 years, $1,100. And they've got gold in here too. If you're into any industries, they've got things that'll help you out too. Gold supply demand. It tells you basically which countries own it. Auto sales, if you want to know who's selling the most cars. You want to make a decision on a car, or you want to sell cars. I found some friends of mine found that really useful as well. And of course, what's really important, household assets. This is on a whole, obviously, household national debt, assets per citizen. So you can really go through and get a lot of information from this website. I'm gonna let you guys play with that yourselves. You could take weeks just going through this one by one, but Cynthia Lummis is talking about the debt. The debt is what everybody's talking about, the national debt. Well, it's 36 trillion, and the clock is ticking. You see here, literally while we've been on this page, it's gone up like $10,000. $30,000, $50,000. It's just every minute. Look at this. It's insanity. Let's move on to our next story. And let's turn to a good news story. Crypto analyst Miles Ducher's top 10 crypto predictions for 2025. On Tuesday, prominent crypto analyst Miles Ducher shared his annual predictions for cryptocurrency market on X. Here's what Ducher expects to see in 2025. Bitcoin dominance has peaked. Ducher predicts Bitcoin's dominance in the market has already reached its cycle high of 61%, which he anticipates some periods of outperformance for Bitcoin. He believes the dominance level will not surpass this 61% threshold. So in the entire crypto industry, at one point recently, 61.5% of all the cryptocurrency was in Bitcoin. Altcoins to rally in the second half instead of the Bitcoin. Deutscher forecast that significant gains in the altcoin market will likely occur during the second half of 2025, while macroeconomic conditions and recent price action have delayed the cycle. He acknowledges the possibility of two altcoin rallies rallies this year, given historical seasonality trends. So he's bullish on the altcoins. Ethereum, BTC reversal expected. See, I don't believe in that. Deutsche remains confident that Ethereum will reverse its current trend against Bitcoin, despite being incorrect with his prediction in the previous year. He reiterates his belief that this shift is inevitable. See, the reason I can't endorse that, again, this is not financial advice, and maybe this Miles Ducher knows more than me, but effectively, when you're looking at Bitcoin, you're really talking about a supply demand. There's 21 million Bitcoins that are ever going to be created. And there are an infinite amount of Ethereum. So I compare Ethereum to, for example, the US dollar. If they need more, they print more. Bitcoin, there can't be more than 21 million, and on top of that, there have been quite a few losses. So I actually predict that currently there's only about 16 million Bitcoin in existence. So it's very scarce. Bitcoin is abundant. Bitcoin to hit 140,000. While some analysts projected Bitcoin surpassing 200 in 2025, Deutscher considers it overly optimistic. He instead predicts Bitcoin will hit 140 this year, aligning with his long-term view of the asset as eventually achieving a $1 million valuation. I think Trump and the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, whatever their decision is going to play a big role in this. AI to dominate with on-chain trading agents. Deutsche expects artificial intelligence to remain a dominant narrative, focusing on the rise of AI agents in decentralized finance, DeFi. He predicts that multiple AI-driven protocols will exceed $1 billion in market capitalization as technology transform on-chain trading. I don't disagree with that. I'm not going to go through all of this. Sol and XRP ETF approvals, predicts Solana and Ripple will gain approval for spot exchange traded funds in 2025. I agree with that. With Bitcoin and Ethereum spot ETF approvals already secured, Deutsche expects regulatory momentum and demand to pave the way for additional approvals. Yeah, I am in agreement, and I think it's going to boost both XRP and Solana prices. A strategic Bitcoin for the U.S. Deutsche believes the U.S. will finalize plans for a strategic Bitcoin reserve for this year. He notes that early signs suggest this initiative is already in progress, marking a significant milestone for institutional adoption. Absolutely, 100% agree with that. Sovereign Bitcoin adoption to grow. Building on his ninth prediction, Deutsche expects more countries to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet in 2025. He forecasts a surge in both sovereign and institutional adoption of the cryptocurrency through the year. I agree with that 100%. I feel like if the States adopts Bitcoin, every other country is going to have to follow, or a lot of the other countries, or they're going to end up falling behind. So that was our story of the day. Now let's move on to something I like, and something that is probably going to be a little unique to this live stream and podcast compared to other ones. And that is, I'm going to like to go through a book recommendation. And the first book I'm going to recommend is The Bitcoin Standard. The Bitcoin Standard is written by Saifedean Ammous. And if you haven't read it, I really suggest you do read it. I'm going to have links in the comments section below. Now, the reason I suggest you do read it is because it's going to go through, the reason I like it, it's going to go through the history, and here it is. It's going to go through the history of money. It doesn't actually talk about Bitcoin until chapter 5 or 6. It barely touches on it, but it goes through the entire history of what money was, what money should be, and where money is going. Then it goes on to talk about, of course, Bitcoin, and it goes on to talk about how it is useful in society. And then, of course, it talks about the security and the possibility of, Bitcoin going out of favor and, everybody losing their money kind of thing. But he goes through these things step by step, and it's the way he describes it and the information he goes and talks about can make everybody relatively confident that Bitcoin won't be hacked. So this is in the basic economics category, and a lot of the books I'm going to offer up. Number one, I'm going to post the YouTube free book. What I always end up doing is I'll listen to the book for free. If I like it, I'll buy it. This book is great. I would suggest everybody read it. Now, when you look at this, I think it's 11 hours, and you're thinking, how am I going to sit here listening to 11 hours? What I do is I take about 45 minutes to drive to work every day, 45 back. There's an hour and a half. In a week and a bit, this book's done. And I used to spend my time listening to the same music over and over, same playlist. How many times can you listen to this? Instead, now I spend my time actually usefully while driving, and I'm able to really understand a lot through these audiobooks. Almost any book you want is available on YouTube. You just type in whatever the book name is, full audiobook, search videos, and voila, there you go. So I've got the YouTube link, I've got the Amazon link, and most importantly, the author's site if you want to actually purchase the book, which, if you like it, maybe you want to make it part of your library and actually have it in hand. So that's what we've got for today. Remember, everyone, money is abundant. Money is everywhere. Money is abundant. Time is what's really scarce. Spend less than what you earn. If you really want to retire, you really want to be rich, spend less than what you earn. If you suddenly make more, save more. Don't spend more, and start saving today. The younger you are, only a small percentage of people in their 20s are actually saving, and the younger you are, the better it is to start saving. If you start saving young, you can retire at 40 in your prime and not wait till you're 60, 70, and by then you're not able to do the things that you love anymore. Whatever's a great idea, start today. Even if you're not ready, start today. If you found this stream useful, please like it and subscribe and share, and we'll see you on the next stream. Thank you so much for listening.